Hey everyone! Today on the plastic canvas we're painting the airship of the Saxon Empire from Scythe. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas, so welcome to episode 3 in this Scythe miniature painting series. And today we're painting the airship of the Saxon Empire, and this is going to close out the Saxon Empire faction part of this series. And so this is the faction that I'll be using as a playthrough Rise of Fenris, the campaign part of the game. Now, first thing you'll have already noticed is that I'm not using a brush here, and that's because I went and got myself my very first airbrush setup. So I got an Iwata Neo, and then just a compressor off of eBay, and I thought this would be the perfect mini to start off with, because it is predominantly all one color. So rather than brushing all the colors onto the whole thing, gave the airbrush a go, and I'm getting the hang of it. It's a little bit of obviously a different technique to using a brush. There are a few things that sort of go along with it, but early on I'm happy with how it's coming along so far, and I think this was a really good place to start with it. So to start with, I did a zenithal prime just like I have been doing with rattle cans up until this point. So just hit the whole thing with black, then grey from a high angle, and then white from directly above. And then I tried to sort of recreate that with the base coat. So I started with a very dark grey all over. Then sprayed on a lighter grey from again a fairly high angle. And then a lightest grey from directly above, just to try and give some sort of transition or sense of light hitting the top of the airship and not so much underneath. The other thing that I liked when I did the prime, which sort of led me towards doing that as my base coat, is that where all of the rivets are and things like that, there was just that little bit of black still coming through underneath them, and it just gave a bit of extra depth, and so I wanted to recreate that in the base coat. And so so that's why I hit it like that, I think it came up sort of pretty well. So I'll look to do that with the other airships. Now the main colour of the Saxon Empire is black. So the reason why I've painted or base coated it so far in grey rather than black is because I'm going to do a black wash over the whole thing, and that's going to take it from grey right down to really close to black. Also, I have painted in the past a couple of things black, and I found it was really hard to bring out the detail and add some depth to it because black is such a dark colour. I found it better to start with a dark grey, and then from there you can darken parts of it more towards black and lighten parts more easily, just to add that depth. So I intentionally have done it grey, knowing that I will come back with that dark wash later on, and that'll take the darkest parts really close to black, and the lighter parts, darken them off, still take them towards black, but there will still be that contrast between the lighter part on top, where I want it to look like more light is hitting, and the darker parts down the bottom, where I want it to look like it's more in shadow. Now, if you've watched the mech video in this series as well, you'll see that I worked in some yellow as well, which is the secondary colour for the Saxon Empire. So I'm just doing the same thing here. I'm just picking out some different spots or some different panels and things like that where I thought it could be painted in this yellow secondary colour, just to break up the large slabs of what will sort of end up being close to black. It just helps to bust up the mini a bit, but also yellow is part of the colour scheme for for the Saxon Empire, so it just helps to work that in a little bit, and it's just another way of tying the airship into the mechs. And just making them look like they're part of the same faction. Obviously, it can't tie them in as close to Gunter and Nuck, the character for the Saxon Empire. But yeah, this is just a way to thematically just tie them all together on the board and make it really obvious which ones belong together. Alright, so here's where the wash goes on. Now there's two main reasons why I'm doing this. So it's a mix of the black and brown Citadel wash. The first reason is just to add a bit of extra depth to the Mini. It just helps bring those little details out, all the studs and just little crevices and those sorts of things. But also it adds a bit of a weathering effect as well, and that's why I added the brown in to the black. So it's mostly black, just with a bit of brown. Because this hasn't just rolled off the assembly line. It's been out, carrying resources and things like that around for a while. So yeah, it just gives it that weathered look, and yeah, it just helps to bring out the little details, so that when this is in the middle of the board, and obviously it's quite a large board, so when people are looking at it from around the edge, those little details are just easier to see. So I mentioned just before with the wash, the part of the reason why that went on was to give it a bit of a weathered look. Here I'm just going back with the same yellow that I used for the line work before, and I'm just picking out some of the spots, just putting a bit of a blob of paint down, and then just feathering that edge out. And that's just so that it looks like some of this steel work that's been painted has weathered in some spots more than others, because not everything's going to weather to the same degree. So some spots the yellow will be brighter, in other spots it'll be darker. It's all just working together just to create that weathered look, and just to sort of hopefully sell the idea that it hasn't just rolled off the assembly line, it's been out there for a while in the elements, and yeah, it's copped a bit of wind, bit of rain, bit of dirt, and yeah, it just hasn't weathered evenly. And as I keep saying in video after video after video, it's, for me, a big part of my painting is just building contrast. So yeah, having that difference between the yellows and the difference between the greys when this is sitting in the middle of the table, though those contrasts come out, and it just helps to lift the Mini and stop it just from looking as flat as it would if there was really only one tone of yellow or one tone of grey. Another way that I'm doing a weathering effect, and again, if you've seen the mech video, you'll have seen sort of what I'm doing here. I'm going to make it look like parts of the airship have worn away to the bare steel underneath, so the paint has been either worn away or like they've maybe copped a couple of shots from some mechs below, and it's just worn down to that bare steel underneath. So I'm just laying a foundation for where I'm going to put the steel paint, because I figure if the paint's worn away, it won't have worn away evenly. It won't either be totally bare steel or totally paint. So I'm just putting this black down for the moment, and as you can see, just kind of just striking sort of some lines out from it just to make it look like it's sort of been scratched kind of, and then when I come in with the blade steel, the metallic silver paint, I'll cover most of the black but not all of it. I'll leave just a bit of a black edge. So what that'll kind of do is it'll help make that steel paint pop because it's got the black border to it, but also it'll make it look like it hasn't worn evenly, and that there is that bit of a transition from the steel paint through to the painted surface, and that it hasn't totally rubbed off everywhere. And yeah, there is a bit of graduation from where it's totally worn away to where it hasn't worn away at all. So this steel, or the effect that I'm doing where it's being worn away to the bare steel, is sort of mainly done just to sell this kind of weathering effect and just add an extra element, but also it kind of helps to tell a little bit of a story. You'll see on the top there where the resources get put. I've done it to make it look like when if they're in like shipping containers or something like that, as they've been put on that surface, they might have scraped across or something like that. So just trying to think about in the different spots that I've put where I'm putting the steel paint, how it would have actually worn away in those spots, and yeah, it just helps to tell a little bit of a story as well, and that, so the airship is used to carry resources, and yeah, no doubt they would have been scraping across that top surface back and forth, and so that's why I did those sort of streaks there, just to make it look like the paint has been worn away on that top surface as those resources have been scraped across. Alright, so the last step here is just using the typhus corrosion just to add a bit of a rusted effect. Again, it's just to add an extra element and a little bit more weathering. So this is the last step, so our airship for the Saxon Empire is now finished. So thank you very, very much for spending some time watching me paint another mini. As I always say, I hope you've gotten something out of this video that you can use in your own painting, or at the very least you've just enjoyed watching me paint. And please do leave a comment down below, something that you liked and something that you think can be improved, and if you think the changes that I've made to these videos along the way have been good changes. Please do like and subscribe to keep up to date with these videos as they keep coming out, and if you haven't dropped by the Facebook, Twitter and Instagram accounts that I've set up for this channel, please do stop by there. Putting pictures up there every couple of days of projects that I'm working on at the time, so that you know what's going to be coming out. So with all that being said, this is Matt from the Plastic Canvas signing out. Happy painting, everyone. Cheers.